What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another very informative episode of Edible Knowledge. Today, we're talking about flour. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about flour. But before I begin, there's a couple of things we have to talk about. All the types of flour that I'll be talking about in this video are made from wheat. The difference, however, lies in three things: the types of wheat used, when they were harvested, and how the wheat was milled. Remember, the development of gluten in flour is why you'll hear a lot of people say not to overmix your dough. Once you add water to flour, gluten bands begin to form. The more you mix or knead the dough, the more gluten bands begin connecting to each other, creating a sort of rubbery dough. You don't want that. Whenever using all-purpose flour, remember to stop mixing once everything is incorporated. So what does gluten do exactly? Well, basically, gluten creates structure and determines texture. Less protein, less gluten. High protein, more gluten. You want light and airy? Use flour with less protein. You want dense and chewy? Use flour with more protein. Alright, enough of that. Let's get started. So what exactly is cake flour? Cake flour is low in protein, about 8%, and is made from winter wheat. Usually bleached, it has a fine texture and a light color, and produces less gluten when mixed into a batter. The flour is affected by the bleaching, bind fats better, and stabilize the gas bubbles produced by rising agents like baking powder. This, of course, gives your cake a light, fluffy, tender texture. Interesting. Number 2, pastry flour. High in starch, low in protein. Somewhere in the middle of 8% and 11%. Right in the middle. And it gives your pastry a tender, flaky texture. No pastry flour? No problem. However, the amount that the recipe calls for, just mix half cake flour and half all-purpose flour. Speaking of all-purpose flour, number 3, generally a blend of soft and hard wheat. This flour's protein content can sometimes vary depending on the country as well as the brand. For example, all-purpose flour in Canada is somewhere between 12 and 13%. In the US, 10 to 11.5%. And in Britain, 7 to 10%. Number 4, self-raising flour. Okay, so basically, self-raising flour is just all-purpose flour. But that's not it. It's all-purpose flour mixed with salt and baking powder. The general rule of thumb is 1 cup of all-purpose flour mixed with half a teaspoon of baking powder and a 1/4 teaspoon of fine salt. What was that? Number 5, unbleached flour. Where bleached flour is treated with chemicals to speed up the aging process, unbleached flour bleaches naturally as it ages. It has more of an off-white color and is a denser grain. And because it takes longer to produce than bleached flour, it's often more expensive. Okay, you see that over there? That is the anatomy of wheat. We have the bran, fiber, the endosperm, made up mostly of starch, and the germ, packed full of nutrients. Now, why am I telling you this? All of that leads me to the final flour that we're talking about today, whole wheat flour. While white flour is just made up of the endosperm, whole wheat flour is made up of all 3 parts. But with whole wheat flour, now that you've included the germ, you actually decrease the shelf life. Well, that's all I have for you today. So much information! I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to give a thumbs up as well as subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment below and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you always know when I upload new informative videos such as this one. Alright, I'll see you guys right back here next time on Edible Knowledge. Bye!